Hey, good morning, guys. It is Tuesday, April 7th, and the world is going to change today. President Trump announced over Truth Social, and I think he might even had a Fox News interview or something where he said that he's going to give the order at tonight for the U.S. military to send the Iranian government into the Stone Age, taking out most of their infrastructure, bridges, highways, energy infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera. Um, the world is apoplectic. I am your host, Thomas Jason Anderson, and this is the Off Ramp. Thank you for joining me. And please, if you can, please subscribe. It helps out a lot. Share and like. If you like what I'm sharing, please share it with others. So, for those who have been around me for a while now, for those who know me personally, you know that I am a religious person. I'm a faith driven person. Um, Unfortunately, our world has decided to define people like myself, people who live, through our faith, as I don't know, cartoon characters, people who try to be people who, we're living the perfect life. We're the goody two shoes. We're the guys who believe that, in every single instance, you're supposed to forgive and turn the other cheek and smile and love no matter what. And that's a good that's good to try to aspire to, but for myself personally, I've never tried to do that. I've never viewed religion or my faith as a ticket to make me better than anyone else around me. I've never viewed it as the thing that I use as an excuse to claim that I know more than someone else, or that somehow have the secret path to enlightenment, et cetera, et cetera. Religion doesn't give you any of that stuff. Okay. If you're a religious person, and for those of you out there who know what I'm talking about here, uh, you know that, our faith and our religion, it's for us personally. It's not for everybody else. It's for us personally. And we feel that we've been chosen, we've been blessed to be chosen. And in my faith, yeah, you're chosen, but not only are you chosen, but you do have to perform an action, and for my faith, it's accepting the sacrifice of Yahshua, of Jesus Christ, right? And that's my faith, and that's who I put everything about who I am in the hands of. That's how I travel through life. That doesn't mean that I'm perfect. That doesn't mean that I'm trying to be perfect. That doesn't mean any of that. What that means is that when I do make mistakes, or when I am doing something wrong, um, God's the first one to chastise me and to work on that with me. And when I say work with me, it's nothing nice. There's nothing the world can do to punish me that could be worse than when God has to deal with me. So so my faith has nothing to do with trying to be a better person in the worldly world, because or try to prove that I'm better than anyone else in the world outside of the one that we're interacting in, right? There's no point to it, because I know that if I do falter, my punishment is with God himself. I have to deal with him, and that's no joke. I've had to do it a few times in life, and man, ooh, not it's not nice. And there's nothing that can happen in from a government or from an individual that can come at me with any kind of pain or suffering that could be anywhere near working through the trials and tribulations of having to fix your life when you've gone wrong, right? um it's not easy. Now the best part about it, though, is though even though it's tough, it's all in love, and you can feel God's love through that process, and you always end up better off on the other end, but it takes a lot of faith. Okay. And that's where I'm at. So when I'm speaking, from a faith perspective, from a religious perspective, that's where it's coming from. It's not coming from I'm better than everyone else. It's not coming from the perspective of, the people who I agree with politically are God's people or they're not. It's not like that, because I can't judge President Trump's heart. I can't judge anyone else's heart. I can't judge anyone else's experience. I don't know what people have gone through. So I can't make a judgment on their faith from the outside, right? What I can do is look at actions. And I try to judge actions against the information I know. And then I make a decision on whether I think this is God's plan or not, on whatever the issue may be. And so I look at the Iran issue and the Iran war. And for people who have been here with me now, you know that I support wholeheartedly Donald Trump, President Trump, taking out the leadership of the Iranian regime. 100%. I've written on why I support it. I've spoken on it several times. Um, but now that we've hit this point where Trump is giving the ultimatum, and he said flat out that, if he gives the order, their civilization is over. Um, it's time to jump back in the seat here and talk about this, because for those of us who are Christian, for those of us who are faith led, this can be for some a conundrum. How do you support a president who's out here straight up telling people he's going to murder his way to ending a civilization? How can that be godly? How can God want something like that? Right. And so it's a struggle for some Christians. I've seen one guy, who's got a popular platform. His name is Tucker Carlson. He claims he's a Christian. I don't know what he is, but he's, looks like, from the way he describes it, faith to him means that the Iranian regime should be in place and that there shouldn't be anything, nothing, no force should be applied to those guys, period. That's where his faith leads him. That's how Tucker Carlson sees it. He sees President Trump now. He said yesterday he sees President Trump as the Antichrist. And he thinks that Trump is trying to bring in, I guess, Armageddon or something, right? And he views this Iranian situation in line with that. So Tucker Carlson is saying, from his religious perspective, Trump's the Antichrist, and he's doing this in Iran to bring out about the end of the world, right? So there are Christians out here who will believe this. And I guess maybe if Tucker Carlson is correct and these are the end times, he's going to fit in as one of the false teachers, one of the false prophets. I'm sorry. There's this in Revelation, they talk about, there's going to be rumors of wars and this and that, right? Well, maybe we're in that time. But if that's the case, like Tucker's saying, we're in the end times, he's one of the false prophets. He's one of the false teachers. He's one of the ones spreading out lies every day, right? And so I look at the situation, I say, well, wait a minute. I know Tucker's a liar. I know Tucker Carlson's a liar. I know he's not, from my perspective, from my interaction with the people around him and the work I've done in the past, I don't see godliness in him, not in his actions. I've never seen godliness in his actions. And so when I see him out there publicly pushing so hard, calling Trump the Antichrist and all that, right? Insinuating Trump is the Antichrist and trying to make this Iran war into a religious situation, it sounds twisted to me. It sounds manufactured to me. It sounds like Tucker Carlson is trying to use religion to prop up his platform. And he's trying to create something here that really, if you think about it, only someone like the Antichrist would want to create. I hate to say it. So if anybody's pointing the finger on Antichrist, then Tucker needs to look at the mirror. As far as the definition goes, I'm sorry. And so people like me here, I have a little tiny platform. I have a fraction. I've got like a few hundred followers on like YouTube or something and subscribers. And I've got a few thousand on Instagram and Facebook, right? But I got a little tiny platform. Tucker Carlson has millions of people. And Tucker Carlson gets to tell those millions of people his opinion. And, he gets to spread that word, even though it's all lies. And here's where his lies begin. And this is where my truth begins and where I support President Trump and what he's doing. So when Trump talks about civilizations and he talks about the Iranian civilization, what is that? Because before, the 70s, when they had all the turmoil, they had I won't say a dictatorship, but they had a king and a queen, right? And it was royalty, and all that got screwed up, and now they're this Islamic republic. And so the Iranian civilization as beautiful as it has been throughout all this time. And I'm very familiar with it because I sold Persian rugs for Bloomingdale's for several years. I was a manager of Bloomingdale's back in another lifetime, and I sold Persian rugs, and I worked with the people who were making the rugs. Now, I couldn't work with any Iranians because they were under sanctions, but I did work with a lot of Pakistanis, and the Pakistanis really did carry the rug business while Iran has been under sanctions all these years, because Iran is the home of Persian rugs. It's where they were invented. And so you have different rugs. They're like the Isfahans and Tabrizes and et cetera, beautiful rugs. And that, I think Persian rugs kind of symbolize their their civilization in Iran, because when you're talking about Persian rugs, and for those of you who know a little bit, you'll agree here, right? When you in order to make a Persian rug, it takes several specialists, and every single rug is one of a kind. There is never the same handmade Persian rug one to the next. They're all one of a kind. And there are several reasons for that. Okay. It's not because they couldn't replicate. If you look at, like a Tabriz rug, they all look the same, different colors and everything. So they look like it's the same rug over and over again. But every single rug is 100% unique. It's a one of a kind. It's artwork. And the reason for that is because in order to make a Persian rug, you have to have several specialists. So you have to have someone who is a dye specialist. And when you're dealing with a real Persian rug, handmade, the dyes are not synthetic dyes. They're not made in a factory. They're made the old fashioned way. They're made with crushing up different roots and leaves and barks and bugs, different items. And the knowledge of creating certain colors that are put into the wool that makes up the Persian rug, that knowledge is handed down from generation to generation. It's secret. It's tradecraft. And so if you're someone back in the day, you wanted to get into the Persian rug business, you had to be able to connect with someone who knew how to make different dye colors through the old traditional ways that was handed down, secret recipes. Okay. And so that's just one aspect. But then you've got the other aspects of, every single piece of wool is a knot. And it's a knot of wool that was tied to a frame of in Pakistan they use cotton, but usually it's wool on wool, um, a wool frame of strings that they go between, and they tie the knots. And usually they have children do it, because of the little fingers, the fine fingers. And so here's another issue with it. Well, how do you get your knot tires? And then how do you get people who know how to control the people laying the knots? Because every single knot, this is a pattern. So it's knot after knot. It's thread after thread put in to make this pattern. And so someone has to control that and direct that. It's a very intricate process. Okay. But if you look at the Iranian civilization, that the rug making and selling process is very much their civilization, where you have to have these specialties, people with high level of skill, being able to combine that on a national level, on a regional level, and to be able to produce and distribute one of a kind artwork throughout the world for generations. Significant. I know it sounds like, oh, it's just rugs. No, trust me. This is it's a lot harder than you think. And, most civilizations couldn't uphold a thing like making Persian rugs like that for generations, for thousands of years. Most people couldn't do it. Most civilizations couldn't do it. And so there are things about the Iranian civilization that are just so unique and so beautiful and so amazing. But with the rush of black gold, the oil in the region, they fell apart. The civilization fell apart, and they became a nation led by a group of greedy murderers. That's just the reality. And so when you're looking at it from a faith perspective, from I'm looking at it through my perspective here, and I'm saying, well, I know that this is a civilization so beautiful and so advanced that has fallen, and it fell due to greed. The greed overwhelmed their civilization. That's just the truth. And what's been holding up what's left of their civilization has been these psychotic murderers that banded together in the country, and they've been murdering for money ever since. Um, that's just the case, and that's what the world is looking at: is a fallen civilization that uh, held itself together the past few decades by being led by a group of murdering animals that would murder and kill anything for money. And that was really the only goal of the leadership in Iran. That's been their only goal. It's just to get rich off of killing innocent people. Period. That is what the Iranian civilization became. And that's what it has become. And it's so bad. Those murderers who lead that country are so evil that the millions of citizens who are innocent, who want none of that, there's nothing they can do. It's that bad. Can you imagine what this group of murderers would do if they were totally unleashed onto the world? If they can do what they've done to their own people, some of the great what they've done to some of the greatest people who have built one of the greatest civilizations on earth, if those murderers could bend and twist and totally destroy them, what would they do to the rest of us? What were they planning to do? And that's the issue here. So if you're a person of faith like me, and you're looking at this situation, you're saying, well, wait a minute. This was a once beautiful civilization that has fallen because of greed. And now the group leading those guys are simply murderers for cash. That's it. They didn't believe in anything other than murdering for cash. You can see all their family members who were living in the West. You can see them. They were living it large under their murder. And their whole goal, leadership in Iran, was to murder as many people in the world for as much cash as possible until they ruled the world and they had all of us living like their own people. Right? That was the point of that leadership. So when Trump says he's going in, he's going to give the order and they're going to wipe out an entire civilization. Well, the civilization has already been wiped out. The people who wiped it out were the leadership in Iran. They wiped it out. They snuffed it out. They killed that civilization. And all that is left is them. Them at the top, the rich, greedy murderers. And so Trump is telling the rich, greedy murderers at the top, step aside. Your time is up. There's no way you can continue what you've been doing. It's not going to work anymore. And those guys have decided, no, we're not going to leave. If you're going to get rid of us, you're going to have to forcefully get rid of us and send us to hell. That's what they've said. And so Trump's going to send them to hell. There's really nothing else you can do. You've got a dead civilization that killed itself through greed and murder. And now they want to basically say to the world, we want to continue to get rich off of murdering everyone we can. And you're going to let us do it because you're scared of us, right? And Trump is like, nah, we're not going to play that game. We're just going to erase you, send you to hell, and move on with our lives. And that's what's going to happen. So, some people can say, oh, how can you be religious and support the wiping out of a bunch of murderers? Well, I don't know. I'm good with that. I really am. I'm really good with murderers being sent to hell. Yeah. Especially those guys, because they were dirty with it. They were celebrating their murderous ways. And they thought that all of us who are religious would be okay with their rampage. Well, we're not. And yeah, we support President Trump. I'm not saying President Trump is, a godly man or not. I don't know. I have no idea. But I do know that him wiping out the Iranian regime, God ain't gonna worry about that. He ain't gonna cry for that. Sorry. God already knows those guys are going to hell. So whether they're here or not, who cares? If Trump wants to get rid of them and get them out of here quicker, go ahead. Nobody cares. Right? That's where it's at. So yeah, I support this. I hope these guys are dumb enough to not step away. And I hope Trump wipes them out once and for all. Once and for all. Because we don't need in our world people who are leading nations who only have one objective, and it's to murder innocent people for cash. We don't need that. I don't care what anyone says about ideology, about political strategies, about this or that. I think we can all agree that we do not, none of us want to see murderers group up together to run a country in order to create as much murder as possible for cash. That's just not cool. So the European nations, the EU nations, and China, they've got a big decision to make here, because here's the thing. They are all for Trump wiping these guys out tonight. They are. Why? Because one way or the other, the European nations and China, they need to get Iranian oil at about $20 a barrel. They can't afford anything more than that. That's just the truth. If you force China to have to purchase all of their oil at $100 a barrel, or the EU nations to purchase all of their oil at $100 a barrel, they're all their economies are collapsing. They ain't gonna make it. They're not gonna make it. And so the European nations, the reason why they don't support peace, the reason why they're not there trying to fix the situation is because they don't want it fixed. They want Iran to stay dysfunctional for as long as possible so they can get that cheap oil for as long as possible. That's all they care about. The same thing goes for China. All they care about is getting their $20 a barrel oil for the next 5 generations. They don't give a damn about anything else. Period. This is all they care about. And so we're dealing with countries who are also greedy and who don't mind propping up regimes who murder for cash, as long as they get a piece of the cash too, and as long as they get some of the cheap oil too. Right? That's what's happening. And so we just have some greedy ass cowards in Europe and in China who really don't care if entire nations are mowed down in order for them to get cheap oil. They don't give a damn. They don't care how it happens. They want their cheap oil come hell or high water, screw the entire world. They don't give a damn. That's how this regime in Iran was able to come into power, because this has been the support they've had from the beginning. We literally have China and Europe purposefully doing everything they can to collapse oil-rich countries and to push them into hell so that they can live the luxurious life off of everybody else's back. That's it. The European nations and China do not want to have to pay fair market rate for their energy. They refuse. And so they thought by propping up some murderers in Iran that we would all just go for it. And we would all just let them nuke us all, while China and the European nations live it up, eating their foie gras, sipping on their champagne, laughing at everybody else, laughing at us. You guys aren't rich. Look how poor you are. You're not even rich. This is the sickness that is in China and in Europe. These people got a problem. The greed is off the chain. It's off the chain. That's just the case. And so when you see in our media environment, people like Tucker Carlson continuing to go after Trump, continuing to try to prop up this Iranian regime as good guys that shouldn't be messed with, that is Chinese and European money pushing this on him. He's getting paid to push this message. It's sad, it's disgusting, but that's where we are at. And everyone else in the media space who's supporting this Iranian regime, they are all in it with the Chinese and the Europeans too. They really do want a world where certain people like the Iranians suffer forever and are never given or never paid for the resources that are being extracted from their nation. That's what this is. And so what's crazy is that the Chinese and the Europeans are saying that's what Trump's trying to do. He's trying to just steal all the oil from Iran. No, he's not. We don't care about their oil. We don't need it. We don't need it. What we're trying to do is just keep the world market stable so that politically it doesn't look bad over here. what the screwed up mess that China and Europe has created in the Middle East. That's who created the mess. Now they can point the finger at the Israelis. The Jews are at fault. Why are they in Israel? They need to get out of here. That's the problem. That's what the Europeans and the Chinese are saying. Why are they even coming into this like that? Why are the Chinese and Europeans pointing the finger at Israel? Why? The finger needs to be at them, the Europeans and the Chinese. They are the ones who have been propping up murdering regimes for generations now. And they've done it out of greed. It's time to pay the price for these guys. Enough is enough of these greedy nations who don't want to do the work, who are always cutting corners, and they're partnering up with murdering regimes so that they can get the easy way out. That's Europe, that's China, to hell with that. Trump's going to destroy that civilization, quote unquote, even though it's already destroyed. The mullahs did that. But he's going to make it official. And when he makes it official, then the Europeans and the Chinese can go in there and pick up the scraps all they want, whatever, man. But I hope Trump at least takes Carg Island and controls that. How about that? Screw China, screw the Europeans on this. I have nothing against the Europeans or the Chinese. My mom's family's German. I like Europeans. But when it comes to supporting murdering regimes so you can get cheap gas, screw you. Screw you. I draw a line. And my line is, okay, if you're greedy, you don't use murderers to get paid. If you're greedy, bust your ass. Work harder. Do it the right way. Stop cutting corners. Stop propping up regimes and using murder as a way to line your pockets. Talking to you Europeans and the Chinese. Stop. That's what this is coming down to. So I'm all for it. I support Trump. I hope he takes all that out because nothing less will suffice. Because if any one of those murderers is left over in Iran, the Chinese and the Europeans are going to prop them up to create a hellscape over there so they can keep getting their $20 a barrel of oil. It's ridiculous. It's time it stops. I know it's not going to stop because these guys are greedy and they don't care about human life. But at least this will make it a lot harder for them to export this ideology of greed that they have. Right? So that's why I support it. And I'm watching. And I think it's going to happen because I don't think the Chinese or the Europeans can get off of this bus. I think they've designed their entire society on being able to basically steal resources from other nations through violence. This is what the Europeans and the Chinese do. All right. They call it economic development. We're going to give them loans. Bullshit. The Chinese and Europeans are all over Africa. They're all over South America. They are trying to steal from all of us because that's their method of their civilizations, of propping up murderers to steal from us so they can get paid. And they laugh at us like we're so stupid. Well, Trump isn't so stupid. He's not playing your game and he's wiping out your crap. Good luck rebuilding it, guys. Good luck finding new murderers and training them up to become as deadly as those guys that Trump is taking out now. It's going to take you at least 30 years to do it. Just to get the training, just to get the brainwashing and the training in place, to get another one of these regimes going to take y'all 30 years. Good. That's 30 years that we all have in the rest of the world where we don't have to deal with your bullshit. So yeah, I'm wholeheartedly behind Trump on this. Good job, President Trump. Take these murderers out. It's time for them to go to hell. They binge should have gone to hell. It's time to go to hell. They got a few hours left. Good luck. With that said, please like and subscribe if you enjoyed today. I will see you guys again soon. I'll see you tomorrow. In the meantime, love you all. Thank you.
Now I'ma put it down like that. I'm leaving, I ain't coming back. You don't like the way I act anyway. You really don't have to react. Don't try to change my mind, in fact. Honey, I've already packed all my stuff. We're no longer kids, let's move on. And you are not my kid, so I'm done. Please don't make me pull my gun. Sorry boy, I can't be the one. You know it, yeah. Nothing lasts forever. You know that a change will make it better. You know that nothing lasts forever. You know that, yeah, change will make it better. There's no one to blame, you see. Maybe we're not meant to be. There are plenty more fish in the sea anyway. Every day's a different thing. So I'm not into wedding rings. It ain't personal, it's the way I think. Yeah. You know it. Nothing lasts forever. And you know change will make it better.